Most people think déjà vu is simply the feeling that you've experienced a specific moment before. But neurologically, it requires a second crucial step, the simultaneous, real-time awareness that this feeling is entirely impossible. This secondary awareness separates déjà vu from standard memory errors, like a false positive or recognition without awareness. In a normal false memory, the brain accepts the incorrect data as truth. You have no idea you are being tricked. This suggests that déjà vu may be the result of a corrective mechanism, a process where the brain identifies its own internal hardware glitch in real time. Your frontal lobe, the brain's decision-making center, is actively intercepting and rejecting a faulty signal generated by your temporal lobe. But what happens to human perception when this auditing circuitry breaks down? The result is a condition called déjà vu, a persistent, lived delusion where the brain is completely consumed by false familiarity. To understand the everyday illusion of déjà vu, we have to examine the pathological extreme, the exact moment where the brain's fact-checking system collapses entirely. All human memory is processed in a specialized anatomical hub called the medial temporal lobe. Memory retrieval here operates on a dual process framework, relying on two completely distinct physical systems. The hippocampus is responsible for generating context-rich episodic recollection. It provides the specific details of what, where, and when. Directly adjacent is the entorhinal cortex, which handles a very different task, generating the low-level gut feeling of familiarity. When you experience severe physical exhaustion or a sudden excitatory spike in dopamine, this delicate callosity becomes unstable. This instability causes the entorhinal cortex to misfire, generating a rogue signal of familiarity completely disconnected from reality. That unverified signal then propagates forward, traveling straight into the brain's frontal decision-making regions. The frontal lobe receives this input and immediately cross-references the raw familiarity signal against the actual episodic records stored by the hippocampus. It finds zero matching data. The frontal lobe recognizes the logical impossibility of the signal. That exact moment of successful error detection creates the jarring metacognitive realization we call déjà vu. A healthy déjà vu experience proves the frontal lobe's supremacy over the temporal lobe's raw, unverified data generation. We can prove this mechanical sequence by examining patients whose medial temporal lobes are routinely disrupted by temporal lobe epilepsy. Clinicians divide these patients into two distinct groups, those who experience déjà vu as a seizure aura and those who do not. In 2021, researchers published a breakthrough case study detailing a patient known as MR. Patient MR suffered from a cavernoma, a vascular malformation acting as a highly selective lesion. Scans revealed this lesion was located precisely within the left lateral entorhinal cortex. While this tiny section was damaged, the surrounding medial temporal lobe tissue, including her hippocampus, remained perfectly healthy. A lesion this specific acts as an involuntary knockout experiment. It allows researchers to observe exactly what happens when the familiarity circuit is damaged, while the recollection circuit continues to function normally. Examining MR-specific symptoms provides the definitive test for our dual-process memory model. Patient MR gives us the exact biological isolation required to trace the feeling of familiarity back to a single square centimeter of brain tissue. To measure the severity of these events, clinicians use a standard tool called the Inventory of Déjà Vu Experiences Assessment, or IDEA. This bar chart shows the IDEA frequency scores for these episodes. The healthy control group averages a score of 2.34, while patient MR spikes to an elevated 3.63. This statistically significant spike proves her damaged entorhinal cortex is continuously generating baseline signals of false familiarity. But frequency numbers alone do not capture the severity of the pathology. This timeline graphic compares the duration of these episodes. A healthy control experiences a short blip lasting a few seconds. Patient MR endures massive, extended blocks measuring 3 to 5 minutes. When the feeling lasts for minutes rather than seconds, it ceases to be a momentary quirk and instead dictates the patient's entire perception of the present. This is déjà vu, the overpowering sensation of having already lived the exact current moment. Patient MR described the sensory takeover in her clinical assessment. I drift off into a dream world state where everybody and any activities seem familiar, while everything around me, reality, becomes unreal, unrecognized. The mechanical failure causing this delusion is clear. The damaged entorhinal cortex is emitting an overwhelming, continuous flood of familiarity signals. The frontal lobe is entirely overloaded by this tempo data. It cannot audit a signal of this magnitude. Without the frontal lobe's ability to reality check the incoming signals, the metacognitive conflict evaporates. The patient can no longer deduce that they are being tricked, plunging them completely into the delusion of déjà vu. The fragile barrier keeping human perception anchored to reality depends entirely on the frontal lobe's ability to out-process the entorhinal cortex. The data from patient MR localizes a specific function. The sensation of familiarity originates within the entorhinal cortex. We can see the exact difference by comparing the mechanisms side by side. On the left, a healthy brain quickly resolves an entorhinal misfire. On the right, MR's brain is locked in a continuous, unresolved familiarity loop that completely overpowers the frontal lobe. For the average person, experiencing déjà vu is not a sign of cognitive decline. It is a positive indicator of a robust, highly active frontal lobe. This forces us to reconsider the mechanics of memory itself. Instead of passive retrieval, our brains manage a continuous negotiation. One region generates a feeling of the past, while another verifies that feeling against the immediate present. Déjà vu is the rare conscious glimpse into this invisible neural negotiation. It is the exact moment we catch our own brains trying to rewrite reality and successfully stop it.